In this Autochartist intro series video, we're going to discuss the difference between trending and non-trending patterns. Chart patterns come in basically two varieties: trending, such as wedges and channels, and non-trending, such as rectangles and triangles. Understanding what market cycle or market direction to trade each one of these chart patterns is key to effective setups. Let's discuss the initial trend and how they apply to market cycles. The initial trend is a quality reading that accompanies each emerging and completed pattern. The initial trend is the strength of the trend prior to the pattern's formation. This means whatever the market direction was as the pattern was developing will influence the reading of this initial trend. The initial trend, as all quality indicators, can have a reading of 1 to 10 bars. Let's discuss what each reading means and how you can interpret the initial trend to understand what the market is doing in terms of the direction it is traveling in. 1 to 3 bars of the initial trend indicates a quiet sideways market cycle. Quiet sideways market cycles are ideally suited for triangle patterns, for pennants, for rectangles, and other consolidation or congestion patterns. For example, notice this $-yen 15-minute triangle pattern in the emerging pattern section that has an initial trend reading of just 2 bars. This indicates that as this triangle pattern was forming over the length of 26 candles, in other words, it took 26 candles for this pattern to form and then finally alert. During this time, during these 26 candles, the dominant trend was a quiet sideways direction, and therefore you can see the 2 initial trending bar reading. This 2-bar reading indicates that this triangle pattern did in fact form and actually break within a non-trending environment. This is an ideal match or an ideal pairing for a pattern such as this and then this initial trend reading. When looking at trending patterns, for example, this 15-minute $-yen falling wedge. Falling wedge denotes that the market is heading in a downward angle. A downward angle can be characterized by a series of lower highs and lower lows. Notice that this initial trend reading is much higher than the triangle pattern that we had just looked at. In fact, these bars are giving me a reading of 8 initial trend bars. If 1 to 3 bars is a quiet sideways cycle, 4 and 5 bars would be a more volatile sideways cycle. 6 bars or greater, as is the case here with this falling wedge pattern alert, is a trending market cycle. 6 would be the weakest or the very least in terms of the reading of the initial trend that we would interpret as a trend. Therefore, greater readings, 7, 8, 9, 10 bars on the initial trend, would indicate an increasingly stronger trend. So this would be interpreted as a medium trend at 8 bars. It certainly is trending, but not trending as strongly as, say, a 10-bar reading on the initial trend would show. Understanding that the difference between trending and non-trending patterns comes down to not only understanding what the pattern type is, we'll examine that in just a moment, but also letting the initial trend help determine what the direction of the market currently is and how strong a trend may be, or how range-bound and narrow a non-trending market may be, but understanding how the pattern fits into that interpretation. Let's take a look at the patterns. Notice there are multiple pattern types that the Autochartist platform scans for. A majority of these pattern types are non-trending patterns. So it's probably easier for us to discuss here which of these patterns are trending. That way you know the rest of them, the remainder, are non-trending. So the trending chart patterns that Autochartist scans for are the channel down, the channel up, the falling wedge, and the rising wedge. The remainder of these patterns in this view can be traded in a non-trending market cycle, which means 1 to 3 bars or 4 to 5 bars. The trending patterns are ideally traded when you have initial trend readings of 6 bars or greater. So letting the market direction help you determine what might be the best pattern for the current mood or direction of the market is a key element to getting the most from your chart pattern analysis.